Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I have a new guest, which I'm super excited to share. This is episode 8 of the Dear Younger Self series. So my time is 11:30 p.m. Yes, we are doing this super late because it needs to get done, and we're just doing it. Super excited to announce that I have one of my favorite people, Nina, who is my cousin, basically raised like sisters. We share a lot of great memories, a lot of memories that we talk about even now. Like, hey, remember when we were 10 and this happened? And we process it, talk about it, really iron it out to see if I'm tripping, she's tripping, those kinds of things. So, welcome everybody to another series, and I'm excited to announce that I have Nina, um, who is a mom, a fabulous mom to a beautiful 5-year-old who she will tell you she's going to be 6 soon, right? She's going to be 6 this year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And a makeup artist who has done weddings, quinceañeras, sweet 16s, baby showers, bridal showers, you name it, she has done it. So give some love to Nina for me, guys. Definitely comment while I put, when I put this up on YouTube and Instagram, definitely comment and show some love to Nina. Nina, what else? Anything that I missed over there real quick with that intro?
No, keep it sweet.
Thank you for joining me tonight. I know it's super late. I am on Eastern Standard Time and you are on Central Time, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, well, thank you for coming on. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me on. I'm
Of course.
excited.
So, what can you tell? Like, so I told you the premise of this program or this series, um, just about us talking to our younger selves. It doesn't matter what age we're at, right? You can talk to our younger selves at 6, 13, 24, but really for the young girls who just think they got it all. That it's good to think that you have it all, but like you don't in your 20s. And there's just so many pressures that come with those age brackets. Like I have to do this by this age, that by that age. But if you can share some thoughts with me, what would be some of the things that you would tell your younger self? And what age are you like thinking about?
I would probably say like teenage years
Mm-hmm.
when you start kind of becoming into who you're going to be as an adult. So I would say, I mean, it kind of it can go even when I was even younger still. So just that little girl inside of me that we all had. So I think the first thing I would tell my younger self is that anything is possible.
That's a good one.
Um, firsthand, like, the environment that we grew up, it was a lot of negativity, a lot of drama, just a lot of hopelessness.
Mm,
And that's all we saw on a day-to-day basis. Like we didn't really see much positivity or people telling us, you could be whatever you want to be, like anything is possible. We didn't really get that and we didn't see it. So that plays a big role, when you become an adult and you realize like if I would have just believed this when I was younger or this age, like it would have really changed, like, your everything as an adult.
yeah. Yeah. Your mindset, just being able to dream and really dream and not have those expectations or those limiting beliefs
Hmm.
on ourselves.
For sure. For sure.
So what's crazy about that too is like what we thought was normal isn't normal, right?
No.
Like the struggles, the poverty, the just the wants and the needs that weren't fulfilled because of so many different reasons. We
Hmm.
thought maybe this is just how life is. And not
That's exactly.
that Go
thought
ahead. Go ahead.
we thought that was normal, like, it was completely normal, and it's sad, you know?
Mhm. So during your teenage years, you would tell yourself, or even younger than that, like anything is possible. You can put
Yeah,
your, you can, you can conquer any fear, like you can overcome anything.
right, for
Yeah.
sure. Learned that as an adult, going through all the stuff, like, you sit back and think like, "Wow, like, I overcame all of that, like, and I'm still here," like, so it really puts it in perspective, like, you really can overcome anything and do anything, you know?
Yeah. I really like the fact that you mentioned how we all have this little girl inside of us
Mhm.
that sometimes I even hear this, like where people are like, oh, I'm who I am, so I'm not going to change. Or I experienced this, and they really sit victim to that. Where part of this, the purpose of this too, is to heal, to talk about the things that may be uncomfortable, talk about that little girl that you once were, and talk to her, like really talk to her. So I love the fact that you brought that up. Like, that's actually a thing. We all have this little girl inside of us that is missing something, and being able to identify what that missing piece is helps us. Even at, I'm 36, right, being able to just talk to her and nurture her and give her the things that she should have gotten when she was that age.
Right. Mhm. Yeah, that's important. That's how you heal that little girl, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
She
I
showed
re
up for me recently. I had an experience that I'm gonna post on Instagram, and it really was just, it was the little girl coming out, and I legit, and I'm pregnant for, I think some people know, but we're expecting, so my hormones were like completely out of whack. I'm blaming it on the baby. But really it was truly that little girl, and I was literally crying in a public setting because I couldn't get what I want, and I felt like a failure. I felt like I was not good enough for this specific thing. And I don't want to share too much because this is all about you, but she showed up in that moment. And after I left, I'm like, I'm really crying. I'm 36 years old crying in public. What's going on? So, yeah, I completely feel that completely.
Yeah. I mean, there's in there, you know, little girls and little boys in there, you know?
Yeah. What would be your next thing? Because I know you said you had a couple.
Um, Another important one would be, it's okay to say no.
Hmm.
It's okay to say no and to create your boundaries with people. Like if something is making you uncomfortable or you feel pressured, or you know, especially in the teenager age, you feel this pressure and to be, you know, um to make friends or be in a crowd, you know, you always feel that pressure to fit in. And a lot of the times you end up doing things that you don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
just because you want to fit in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say saying no, definitely, because I always had a hard time saying telling people no, even if I really, really wanted to say no.
And I think you do a great job. Not that I think, I know you do a great job with teaching your daughter, because she is completely different than you in a
Yeah,
good way, not in a bad way, but she's taken up a lot of like being vocal and being very expressive, and being able to just speak her mind, which I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were very intentional about that for her.
yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I
Hmm.
was
Go ahead,
so
sorry. Huh?
no, I was opposite of that. So that was important for, you know, for me to instill that in my daughter to not be that way because I mean, it was very hard for me to express myself. And that's very damaging when you just keep all of that inside of you, you know? So
Yeah.
it's important.
And you
Mhm,
don't have to answer this question if you don't feel like it, but
mhm.
at what age do you feel like you got out of that? Like just kind of caving in, at what point or what situation was it like, you know what, I have to really step up and advocate for myself a little bit better, or speak, use my voice that God has given me? Like, at what age do you feel like you were able to make that change?
Honestly, the craziest thing is that I think it like clicked for me when I became pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I was 30 years old, and um I just something just clicked in me that I was like I guess that mom thing that happens when you become a mom, that mama bear came out, and she been here ever since. Been ever
I
since,
could
and
even tell in the way you're moving. You're like, basically, you're sharing that. I guess you realize, like, I need to be an advocate for myself because now I have a little offspring that I need to advocate for too. Was that something like that?
exactly like that. Like it was my daughter. Like I'm like, there's for me, like I could roll with the punches, like I'm used to, like when it comes to my daughter, listen, you know, like,
Yeah.
and we're kind of the same. We kind of have that same type of like, we're not like drama, like we're not into drama or creating drama, like we stay to ourselves. But when it comes to our child, we would go to the ends of the earth for. So
Yeah.
like that's what really like made me like stand up for myself. Like, no, I'm not doing this. Like even with doctors and stuff, I had a difficult pregnancy, and
Hmm.
they were do things that I didn't want to do. And I'm like, no, like my daughter comes first. Like
Yeah.
definitely when I became a mother, for sure.
That's such a beautiful thing, though, because there are so many women out here, even still, that are just like, again, this is me, this is, but for some women, because I don't want to say all, but for some women, like this mother thing, we take it super seriously, as we should. So I'm glad that you were able to navigate that, right? And I'm sure you're still learning how to heal and how to be an advocate. But even in your whole demeanor, again, it's just like, don't play with my child. I'm not
Mm-mm.
trying to hear it.
That's why I'm so scared for daycare and stuff like that, because the world is just so crazy. But yeah, definitely. My daughter is like my everything, my rock, everything. Like,
Hmm. I'm sure she would have something to say if she was up right now.
oh, she
Are we
sure
doing
was
this so late?
talking about me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Um, did you have one more or no?
I had a few more.
Okay.
Let me
Go
see.
ahead, keep them rolling. This is so
Uh,
great.
all right. So I have five. So let me see. The third one would be, this is important. And it took me a while to learn this too. Love yourself first.
Mm,
And know that you're important, you're worthy, you're capable of greatness, and do not settle. That's like so important,
yeah.
because I feel like, especially when you grow up in a very trauma filled environment, um it's hard to love yourself,
Mm,
if that makes sense, because it's like you don't feel worthy of it, or like what you've seen, the people around you don't love themselves, or don't show that. So it's like you know what I mean? I wasn't taught to love myself first, you know?
oh, because you didn't have the examples in front of you of people showing themselves that they love themselves first. It was
Right.
always settling, it was always sacrifice, it was always pain and hurt.
And
Um,
just survive.
yeah, and survival. Yeah, most definitely. So
Like
I,
most of my growing up was that, just trying to survive through the day, you know?
mhm.
So
And
love yourself.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nina.
No, I was just saying, like, just to touch base, like, love yourself first because that's all you got at the end of the day.
Mhm. And then
You know,
true, like you grow up and then you're like, okay, how do I navigate this? Like you get out the house, you know what I mean? You're out of that environment and then you're stuck with what?
mhm, right. And self-care is very important. That's like a big thing. Like we need that. We need that bubble bath. We need that spa day. We need that day to just breathe. It's very important, I think. That's part of loving yourself as well.
People talk about self-care a lot and I hate, and I'm going to say hate, like I don't really like using that word, but I hate the memes and the Instagram posts about self-care that's like, oh, go to the bathroom or, you know what I mean? Like 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Like, no, you need like hours or days. Like you need
Right.
to essentially be every single day doing things for yourself.
Even if it's like treating yourself to your favorite snack, like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that, little stuff
Yep.
like, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you said that because then some people also think that self-care is like the expensive stuff. So
No,
there's so many levels to it of you refueling yourself so that you can give to other people.
for sure. And that's very important, especially when you have children.
Oh gosh. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm, okay.
Yes, love yourself first. That's a very important one. For sure. And another key thing is if you love yourself, um, you're teaching other people how to love you as well. You know, you're teaching people how to treat you because you're not going to settle for, nonsense and stuff that someone that truly loves themselves are going to settle for, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So what would you tell a 16-year-old that's in like in their parents' environment, right? They can't go anywhere, they're in school,
mhm.
and they just have a very toxic environment. They're gonna say, well, how do I love myself? Or how do I get out of this? Or how do I advocate for myself when I'm stuck in this space? Is there anything?
um, I would say try to involve yourself in something that, maybe you're passionate about or you enjoy doing to just not be in that space. Like you can get your mind off of everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just try not to make it harder for yourself. So like let's say if 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 you're not doing the dishes, if that's your chore, and by you not doing the dishes, it's going to trigger something else, like just do the dishes. You know what I mean? Just like do those little things to try and like stir the pot if you
Yeah.
know that it's going to trigger something that you don't want to happen, you know?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Identifying and knowing your surroundings and yeah, avoiding at all costs until you can get the heck out of that house, but avoiding it at all costs. Not to the sacrifice of yourself, but that is a great example. And then I love the fact that you stated about involving yourself, especially with all these YouTube tutorials and all that, like internet, like we didn't have that stuff growing up. So you can
No.
learn literally anything off of online. So that's such a great tip there.
Yes, like I wish we had like YouTube and stuff when we were younger. Like, girl,
We would have been honing our skills back then.
right, exactly. Right. All right. So another one was always follow your intuition and trust your gut feelings. And yeah, just you have it for a reason. Like I don't know how many times I would have been like in a completely different situation if I would have just listened to my intuition. You kind of just like, especially when you're young, you don't like realize that's my intuition telling me something. You just kind of just like, oh, whatever, like, and still go ahead and do what you you're trying to do. But
Yeah.
to just listen to that sometimes, oh goodness, I would have really saved myself. Um, and also to like um follow your passion and don't like listen to anyone's like negative opinion. I feel like that's a deflection of how they feel about themselves, and they feel like they're not capable of, you know, what you're trying to do. So they kind of mirror that onto you.
Mm.
I mean, instead of like trying to be like, oh, great, yeah, you can do whatever you want, even if they don't believe it. You know what I mean? But instead of trying to tear your dreams down or say you're not capable, or just trying to, or not being supportive, because a lot of people don't have, the support. And that's a big, big thing. Like, especially when you're younger, you're already very vulnerable, and you feel like you need to be validated a lot when you're younger. And if you don't have that, it can really deter you from what you really want to do.
Yeah. And it could be just a simple mentor. I talked about one of the episodes that I felt like I wish I would have gotten a mentor, but I was always on some, oh, I don't want to burden anybody with my stuff, but I would have been kind of in a different situation. Not that I'm like regretting my current situation, because everything happens for a reason. But if I can talk to my younger self, that would have been one of the things of seeking a mentor in the thing that I wanted to be skilled at. So one of my things, as you know, is like dancing. I wish I would have been a backup dancer for some famous celebrity, or I love performing.
Mhm.
So I feel like all of your tips really tie into being authentic to who you are and really standing ground to who Crystal is, who Nina is, to these younger generations, and really identifying who you are and really living it.
Yeah.
Speaking up, right? Advocating for yourself, your passions and dreams. Like those are all things that if we would have done them a lot younger, who knows where we will be in our 30s.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And kids these days have it way different because they have access to the internet and YouTube. And, we were like way past that. So we were already adults when that stuff came out. So
Mhm.
we didn't get capitalized on all of that. So, but
Mhm.
um, it's never, this kind of ties into my last one. It's never too late to stop learning, and to never stop learning or perfecting your craft, or what, you're working towards, because that's very important, because that's how you stay great. That's how you continue to progress and grow and become a master at what you want to accomplish. So that was like my
Love it.
last tip.
Like you built on this. You really were very intentional. You started off like that makes sense. I don't know how to say it, but you really just drew the picture of how to be authentic. You speaking up, you're following your intuition, you're following your dreams, you're believing in yourself.
Hmm.
Phenomenal, phenomenal, absolutely amazing.
It's a struggle. Sometimes I still struggle. Sometimes that little girl comes out, she starts creeping, and
Mhm.
I have conversations with her. Like, I have conversations with myself. I think that's also very important. Like, there's certain things that may trigger me, right?
Yeah.
And I have to sit and really think, why did I get triggered by this? And it's always tied to something that I went through, or my childhood, or something of my past. And I try to tie it in and figure out how I can address it, so that way I'm not triggered by this, so I can heal. That's that healing that, you know?
Is it uncomfortable to go through that? Like, is it uncomfortable to like, okay, so first and foremost, you're very self-aware. And we've
Mhm.
talked about this too, of like, we're at a stage where we're being self-aware, because that's the only way we're going to grow and progress, like you said. So that's definitely the first step. But some people stop at that awareness. Some people are like, okay, I'm triggered, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm whatever feeling. Let me just get over it and move on. Is it uncomfortable for you to go back to that little girl and identify what it is that's causing her pain, anger, sadness?
Um, I mean, it's a challenge, yeah, because you have to dig, and a lot of people are uncomfortable doing that. But for me, it's healing. And once you realize that you're healing that little girl inside of you, that's like when you start thinking, outside of the box and trying to really figure out, other things, other triggers that because I mean, who wants to be triggered their whole life? You know what? Like, who wants to go through like that? You know? So, and it's also, you know, if you're, in a relationship or with your kids or something like that, it can affect them because y- your triggers can affect the people around you. So it's important to get that in mind because you don't want to affect the people closest to you by something that happened when you were 10. You know what I mean? So
That
it's
makes so
very
much sense.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's like I said, some people may just get have the feelings and the emotions and don't move forward with identifying why or what in their childhood created that. So that's super awesome that you're doing the work. Um, and I never
Yeah.
thought of it like that. Like, who wants to live in this state of always being triggered? Like, you might as well heal it.
Like remember me, like me and you have personal conversations and stuff, and like we sometimes figure out things that we went through and we're like connecting the dots, like this, it stems from this, like, and we're like, wow, like
Yeah.
we these light bulb moments together, like that's what it is, like, but it also helps us, right? Because now we can recognize it.
Most definitely.
That's
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
we can definitely combat all those things. So for example, if like we felt like we weren't good enough because we had this one experience or 5 experiences or whatever, we can now say like, okay, this triggered me because of this. This was
Hmm.
the emotion or the thought behind that emotion. And this is how we overcome it. So the fact that you talk to your younger self in the sense of like affirmations or talking yourself out of scary moments or telling yourself that it's going to be okay because you've gotten so far in life, it's just powerful. It's super powerful because we're rewiring ourselves as we're healing, we're rewiring ourselves and just changing those thoughts. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's super dope. And I want to say this too, and I'm sure you would agree, it's like, and you kind of noted that is never too late, but it's also never too late to heal. It's never too late to identify those things. When you're 50, 40, 80, it's never too late to do the work.
Right. It's scary work. It's scary. It can be very scary if you went through a lot of trauma or a lot of, stuff that you don't want to dig up. But it's very important for you to move on and live a happier life where you don't have those burdens on you that you don't even realize is stemming from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, It's important to address those things just so you can like have a peace of mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think we all want happiness.
Especially if you have kids. If you don't want to do it for you, do it for your kids because it's going to trickle down to them.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
Or
And we're not saying be perfect because
no,
I'm not perfect.
no, nowhere near perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Days I still have my moments, but we're human, and it's okay to have those days. It's okay to have a bad day. You're human. We can't be perfect. We're not robots.
Yeah.
So a bad day, just look on the brighter side.. Tomorrow's another day. So keep pushing forward. That's all you could do.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing these tips with us. Thank you for talking to our all of our younger selves and really identifying steps for like authenticity and just being our true selves and not giving in, not settling, believing in ourselves, finding a passion. And you even gave tools to those that are kind of stuck in their environment because they're, early teens and they're just experiencing things. What can they do now in their present moment to really feel like they're contributing to their life and going on the internet, learning a new skill, surrounding yourself with positive people, maybe seeking someone, a support person in school, talking
Mhm.
about it, journaling. Like there's so many different tools that kids can use nowadays to have an outlet.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for your time. Where can we find you, girl? And your
Um,
makeup is really on point. So where can people
Thank
find you?
you. Before I say that, I just want to say, like, if people have a hard time, doing the healing and stuff, don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to go to a therapist.
Mm,
Don't think less of yourself because you're going to a therapist. Listen, I think everybody needs to go to a therapist, whether you had a great life or not. Everyone has stuff that they can, get off their chest and under, you know, figure out a way to understand themselves better. So
Thank you for your yeah, definitely very important. Thank you for
yeah,
adding that.
yeah, a lot of people are like scared or ashamed of therapy, and you shouldn't be. That's what they're there for, to help. So that you can understand yourself better, because a lot of people can't connect the dots sometimes. Mm,
Mhm.
therefore, at least a good therapist. Therapist. I can be found on Instagram, MUA_Nina, NINA_Bella, BELLA. And on TikTok, I can be found at Nina, NINA, Bella, BELLA_333.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We're about to be up until Sunday. Well, you got an hour still. I'm about to be into Sunday at this point. But no, seriously, this was very helpful, and I'm sure a lot of young ladies will get, and men even will get so much out of this episode.
Thank you for having me so
You're
much.
welcome. Of course. Bye, everyone.
Bye.